You're out on a bright day, shooting at high shutter speeds, like 1/1000th of a second. The subject isn't even moving. You take the shot, you look at the photo on the back of the camera, and looks fine. You get home, zoom to 100%, and it's just not there. The photo is soft. Maybe not catastrophically blurry, but not sharp, not where it should be. And your camera gave you nothing, no warning, no flag, just a soft photo it seemed completely fine with. Today I'm going to tell you exactly why that happens, and I promise the answer isn't what you think it is. Hi, hello everybody, welcome back to a new video, hope you're well. So all the photos I just showed you were taken by me in different conditions, but all of them have one thing in common. Viewed on a phone screen or even zoomed out on a video like this, they look completely fine. But if you zoom in just a little bit, all of them are actually soft. They are a little bit blurry. And this has been a massive frustration for me, because the weather conditions has been great, the light was good, my subjects weren't moving, so why are they blurry? Is it me? Is it the lens? Has the glass somehow got misaligned inside the barrel? But no. After diving into all of this, I've realized there is actually two culprits behind soft photos at higher shutter speeds. And small nerd warning for today, because we actually have to get under the hood a little bit. And just a quick disclaimer before we do, I am not a camera engineer. Everything I'm about to say is based on my own research and the facts I have found, and what practically fixed my own photos. There is probably a bottomless pit of technical math behind all of this, but we're just going to focus on what actually matters out in the field. But I promise it's worth it. The first culprit is something your camera is trying to do to help you, but above a certain speed it backfires badly. And the second thing is something your silent shutter mode is quietly just not telling you. So let's start with the biggest culprit, which ironically is IBIS, in-body image stabilization. If you're not familiar, IBIS is a floating sensor inside your camera body that physically shifts to counteract your hand movement while you shoot. It's genuinely one of the best things that ever happened to handheld photography. In low light, at slow shutter speed, it's a lifesaver. But here's the part nobody really talks about. At faster shutter speeds, let's say 1/500th of a second and above, IBIS can actually cause micro blur instead of preventing it. Your IBIS system is working in real time. It's constantly calculating where your hands are moving and physically shifting the sensor to compensate. That is a mechanical process. The sensor is floating, adjusting hundreds of times per second. When your exposure is 1/30th of a second, that continuous adjustment is exactly what you need. There is enough time for IBIS to do its job and smooth out the shake. That's literally what it's designed for. But when your shutter fires at 1/1000th of a second, the exposure is so short, we're talking about fractions of a millisecond, that even the microscopic movement of the floating sensor during that window registers as blur. Think of it this way. If someone photographs you sprinting at 1/30th of a second, you'll be a blur. But at 1/1000th, you look completely frozen. The exposure is too fast for the motion to register. The same logic applies to your sensor. Above a certain shutter speed, the tiny corrective movements of IBIS, which at low speeds are completely invisible, become the very thing softening your image. It's actually the exact same reason why every camera manual tells you to turn off IBIS when using a tripod. Because the IBIS is working all the time. It gets confused and induces its own blur. I realized that this micro jitter was exactly what was ruining my bright daytime shots. But while I was digging into all of this, I found that micro jitter is actually just half the story. There is a second massive culprit that ruins high-speed photos. Now, before we get into the second culprit, I just want to be honest. and say that my photography is all about the quiet, ordinary places, dirt roads, old barns, static spaces. My subjects aren't moving and I'm not panning the camera. Because of this specific issue wasn't the thing ruining my photos. But this is still a huge trap, and I think it's worth mentioning, because it becomes incredibly frustrating when you're shooting moving subjects, or even just pan your camera a little bit. Most modern mirrorless cameras, like my OM5, most Sony a7 bodies, and other non-stacked sensor cameras have a silent shutter or electronic shutter mode, and it's genuinely great. There is no noise, there is no vibrations, and you can shoot in a quiet gallery without turning heads. So you enable it and you set your shutter speed to, let's say, 1/1000th of a second, and you naturally assume that your exposure will be 1/1000th of a second. It is not. Here is what is actually happening. An electronic shutter doesn't open and close like a physical curtain. Instead, it reads your sensor line by line, row by row, top to bottom. And on most non-stacked sensors, that full scan takes around 1/60th of a second to complete. Each individual row of pixels is exposed for 1/1000th of a second. But by the time the camera reaches the bottom of the sensor, 1/60th of a second has passed since it started reading the top. That gap is called the readout time. If everything in your frame is completely still, doesn't matter at all. Each row gets its clean 1/1000th of exposure, and you get a sharp image. But the moment something is moving, or you are moving, your subject shifts position between when the top of the sensor reads it and when the bottom does. And instead of a sharp subject, you get what's called rolling shutter. You've probably seen it. The telephone pole that leans when you pan, the building that goes wobbly when you walk, and it's not a focus problem. It's your sensor scanning too slowly for what's happening in the scene. So now we have a floating IBIS sensor that is actively shifting during your shot, and an electronic shutter that is secretly stretching time. So with all of this working against us, what are we actually supposed to do? How do we set up a camera to just take a sharp photo? Well, actually, we need to look backward. Back to the film days and early DSLRs. Back then, we didn't have floating sensors to save us. We had to use a basic mathematical formula called the reciprocal rule to figure out how fast our shutter needed to be to avoid handshake blur. The rule is super simple. Your minimum shutter speed should match your equivalent focal length. So if you're holding a 50mm lens, your shutter speed needs to be at least 1/50th of a second to avoid blur. But there is a catch. You have to account for your sensor size, which means factoring in your crop factor. I shoot mostly with a 20mm lens on a micro four thirds sensor, so my full frame equivalent is 40mm. Because that micro four thirds sensor has a 2x crop factor, it effectively doubles my field of view. But here's the most important part. That crop factor doesn't just magnify the image. It magnifies your hand movements too. That is why you always need to apply the reciprocal rule to your equivalent focal length, not just the number printed on the side of your lens. So with my 40mm equivalent setup, according to the old reliable laws of physics, I theoretically only need a shutter speed of 1/40th of a second to freeze my own hand movement. So if I'm shooting at 1/1000th of a second, I'm way beyond what my hands can mess up. I don't need the camera to stabilize anything. So for most mirrorless cameras, the general rule is this. Keep IBIS on whenever your shutter speed is slower than your equivalent focal length. Switch to the fully mechanical shutter for fast-moving subjects, and the moment your shutter speed safely clears that focal length math, For example, if I'm shooting my 40mm setup at 1/250th of a second or 1/1000th of a second, just turn IBIS off. You don't need it anymore. So just let that fast shutter speed do the work. But if you shoot on a system like I do, there is actually a built-in secret that makes this incredibly simple. And it's what I personally use on my OM 5. My everyday default setting is the anti-shock mode, the one with the little diamond icon. If you aren't familiar with it, anti-shock basically uses an electronic start to prevent the physical slap from the shutter mechanism from vibrating the camera at lower speeds. But OM system actually hard-coded a limit into the camera. The moment your shutter speed goes above 1/320th of a second, the camera automatically switches over to the fully mechanical shutter behind the scenes. It does it for you. It protects your photos and you don't even have to think about it. So my personal setup, the one that keeps my technical friction to an absolute zero, is just this. I leave the camera in anti-shock. I avoid the silent shutter unless I absolutely need to be quiet. And the only manual change I ever have to make is turning off IBIS when my shutter speed safely clears my focal length. Usually around 1/250th of a second on a bright day. That's it. I talk a lot on this channel about removing technical friction, about finding a camera that feels like home, so you can stop looking at menus and just focus on the light in front of you. But technical friction isn't just about heavy cameras or complicated dials. Sometimes it's a quiet doubt that creeps in when your gear isn't giving you the results you expect. When I was sitting at the PC looking at those slightly soft photos, I wasn't thinking about my compositions, and I wasn't thinking about the projects I'm working on. I was just stressed. I was wondering if my lens was broken, or if I had somehow forgotten how to hold the camera properly. I was fighting my gear, and that is the heaviest technical friction there is, because it makes you stop trusting your own instincts. Learning these little nerdy details, understanding why the floating sensor gets confused at higher shutter speeds, or how the OM 5's anti-shock mode is secretly protecting the image, it doesn't make you a more technical photographer, it actually allows you to be a less technical one. Because once you understand exactly how the tool works, the doubt disappears. You know exactly what the camera is going to do. The gear finally just gets out of your way. And when the gear gets out of your way, you can just walk. And you can just see, which is the whole point why we do this in the first place. Has something like this ever caught you off guard? A setting you thought you understood that was actually working differently than you expected? I'm genuinely curious. Let me know down in the comments, I always read them. Also, real quick, as I mentioned in my last video, I'm currently preparing for a real physical exhibition of my project Mellanrummet coming June this year. If you enjoy the channel and want to support the project or help out with the printing costs, I've left a buy me a coffee link down in the description. There's absolutely zero pressure, but as a massive thank you, anyone who ships in will get a high-res digital print of one of the main exhibition pieces. And to everyone who has already done so, thank you. It genuinely means the world to me. I can't express it in words, honestly. Anyways, that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, give it a like and consider subscribing. I appreciate it so much. But until next time, have a good day or evening, whenever you're watching this. Out.